Ukraine fired German RCH-155 brutally again. That is the provocative headline ripping across defense circles this week, dated January 9, 2026. This is huge.
It really is a critical milestone.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with the expert team here at Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense deep dive into the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we're going to cover the most advanced piece of mobile artillery to come out of Europe in a generation.
The German RCH-155 self-propelled howitzer.
Yeah, we've been tracking this one for a while.
We have, and our sources are confirming a major convergence of news this week. We have a massive German order confirmed, a strategic UK deal, and maybe most importantly,
Go on.
confirmation that Ukraine, the very first user, is directly shaping the final version of this system.
It's an incredible story, really. European industry adapting in real time. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, there are some pretty big questions hanging over this whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, why is this weapon, this high-tech machine built for speed, we're talking 100 kilometers per hour,
Why is it stuck in Germany?
when Ukraine desperately needs it on the front line?
Exactly. And that delay, it's not what you think.
It's not just bureaucracy. We've learned the real reason is that direct battlefield feedback from Ukrainian soldiers is literally forcing changes to the design of the world's newest artillery system.
Before it's even fully deployed, it's unprecedented.
Plus, we're seeing this deepening cooperation between the UK and Germany. We'll get into how this is basically setting the roadmap for future NATO artillery.
It's way more than just a new gun.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is the RCH-155?
Well, the name kind of gives it away. RCH is remote-controlled howitzer, 155 millimeter. And it is, it's the culmination of German artillery tech packed onto a very, very mobile platform.
Right, and that platform is key. So we're essentially taking the gold standard of German firepower, the main gun from the old PZH-2000.
Of L-52 main armament, yeah. And mounting it on the fast 8x8 boxer-wheeled chassis. Is that the basic idea?
That's precisely it. The PZH-2000 is brilliant, but it's a heavy tracked vehicle. The RCH-155 puts that exact same firepower onto wheels.
Which changes everything, the logistics, the operational range.
Completely. It can go over 700 kilometers without refueling, and crucially, hit road speeds of up to 100 kilometers an hour.
Okay, let's break down that designation for a second. L-52. Why is the length of the barrel, the caliber length, so important here?
It's everything. It's all about range. Older systems, like the UK's old AS-90, they had a 39 caliber barrel. The RCH-155's 52 caliber barrel is much longer.
And a longer tube means more velocity.
Immense muzzle velocity. Enough to push a shell up to 70 kilometers if you're using specialized rounds like Volcano or Excalibur.
70 kilometers, that's a safety buffer that was just impossible a generation ago. You're staying so far back from the fight.
Exactly. And you combine that with a high rate of fire, 8 rounds a minute. But the real unique selling point, the thing that sets it apart, is its ability to fire while traveling.
That's the massive leap, isn't it? We always talk about shoot and scoot. Fire, pack up, and get out of there before the counter battery fire comes in.
Right. But this system doesn't even have to stop.
So it's not even shoot and scoot, it's just shoot and keep scooting.
It's a complete change in doctrine. Against modern sensors, counter battery radar, and especially FPV drones, your survivability is measured in seconds. If you never slow down, you give them almost no time to lock on.
But how does the crew handle all that? That speed, that complexity? And I hear the crew size is way smaller than the PZH-2000s.
Drastically smaller. It's the magic of automation. The turret itself is an unmanned system called the Artillery Gun Module, or AGM.
So everything's automated. The loading, the aiming.
Everything. Loading, aiming, fuse setting, it's all automated. Which cuts the crew down to just 2 people, a driver operator and a commander, safe inside the Boxer's armored cabin.
2 people running a heavy artillery system that fires 8 rounds a minute while driving at high speed. That's good.
Well, that brings us to Ukraine, doesn't it? It does. Ukraine isn't just another customer. They are the launch customer. They're set to be the first nation to use the RCH-155 in combat, even before Germany's own army.
And they've put their money where their mouth is. The order has grown.
Substantially. It started at 18 units, now it's up to 54. A deal worth almost 900 million euros.
That is a massive vote of confidence. So the first unit was handed over in January 2025, but we know they're not on the front line yet. What's the holdup?
Well, it's complicated, and it really shows how fast industry has to adapt now. Part of the delay was for crew training, which is normal. But the bigger issue, the real reason, is integration.
And that's about getting it to talk to Ukraine's own battlefield management system, right? The Krapiva ACS.
The Krapiva automated control system, yes. You have to understand, for a two-person crew moving that fast, you can't have them manually punching in target data.
You'd lose all the speed advantage. The time it takes to type in coordinates, you could get hit.
Exactly. You introduce delays, human error. So integrating it with Krapiva means the data flows seamlessly. A drone spots a target, the data goes through the network, and the RCH-155's gun module automatically aims and fires.
Without the crew having to do anything but approve the command.
That's the goal. That level of automation is why the system is still in Germany. They're customizing the software, the hardware, to fit perfectly into Ukraine's high-tech, high-speed way of war.
And speaking of adapting, that war has just hammered home the vulnerability of artillery to drones.
It has. The feedback from Ukrainian troops was a stark warning. The risk from drones to these high-value systems is just unacceptably high. The RCH-155 is mobile, but it needed more protection.
So how is the manufacturer, KNDS, dealing with that?
They're designing an entirely new vehicle, basically a bodyguard for the howitzers, based directly on what Ukraine needs. It's called the ATO-30.
ATO-30, what is that?
It's another Boxer chassis, but they've mounted the RCT-30 turret on it, the one with a 30mm autocannon.
So it's an air defense vehicle.
A highly specialized one, yes. The 30mm cannon is perfect for shooting down drones. So this vehicle will act as the battery's command post and its mobile protector. And crucially, it can also fire on the move, just like the howitzers it's guarding.
It's an amazing example of industry just reacting instantly to a threat that barely existed a few years ago.
And that influence from the battlefield is pushing major procurement decisions across Europe. Just this week, we got news on Germany's own commitment.
A massive commitment.
The contract is firm. They've ordered 84 RCH-155s with delivery set for 2028 to 2030. And this is part of a framework that could see them buy up to 500 systems in the long run.
This is clearly the future backbone of German artillery. They've even formed a new unit already, the 215th Artillery Battalion, to be the first to operate it.
They're all in, which makes the UK's approach interesting.
A stark contrast, you could say.
It highlights a really different philosophy. The UK signed a £52 million joint contract with Germany. But instead of a big order, they're buying one.
Just one.
One early capability demonstrator for the British Army. Germany will get 2 more, and they'll do shared testing and evaluation.
And this one demonstrator is meant to be the successor to their mobile fires platform, replacing the Archer systems they bought as a stopgap.
After sending their entire fleet of AS-90s to Ukraine.
Yes.
And that's all part of this Trinity House agreement for defense cooperation. The intent is great. Share data, ensure everyone's gear works together.
But you can see why commentators are skeptical. You've got Germany ordering 84 and the UK ordering a single demonstrator. The lesson from Ukraine seems to be that mass, sheer numbers really matters.
That is the central debate for NATO right now. Scale versus high-tech. The RCH-155 was designed around the lesson of mobility to survive counter-battery fire.
But the war has thrown a wrench in that. The drone. How does mobility save you when a drone can just follow you wherever you go?
It creates this paradox of mobility. Moving fast is still essential against traditional radar-guided return fire. But the sheer number of cheap recon and FPV drones means even a system going 100 kilometers an hour can be tracked and hit.
So what are Ukrainian forces actually doing on the ground with their advanced artillery?
They're doing a fascinating mix of old and new. They use the mobility to redeploy quickly between missions, but for survivability during a fire mission, they're increasingly using heavily dug-in positions.
So digging them in, like in old war.
Meters of earth, sandbags, camouflage. They create these hardened shelters where the gun is almost invulnerable. They only expose it for the absolute minimum time needed to fire, and then it's back under cover.
A combination of historical fortification and cutting-edge long-range firepower.
Exactly. But no matter how they use it, the big picture is clear. NATO is shifting decisively to heavyweight long-range punching power. Moving from the old 39 caliber to the 52 caliber standard, the RCH-155, that's a critical move for the whole alliance.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The RCH-155 isn't just a technological leap, it's a system being actively co-developed and customized by the harsh realities of the war in Ukraine.
And that collaboration, the UK-German effort, it shows a real deepening of European industrial alignment against immediate threats. It ensures the tech being built is relevant now, not for some war 5 years from now.
And here's the really interesting part, the provocative thought for you to chew on. This whole situation reveals a fundamental split in defense thinking. Germany is betting on mass and long-term industrial scale. The UK is focusing on a single, high-tech demonstrator. The war in Ukraine has screamed at us that mass matters, numbers matter, yet the UK is buying one demonstrator here and planning for just 148 Challenger 3 tanks. So the question is, will NATO allies realize that buying a few exquisite high-tech systems isn't enough? Or will that German factory-first approach prove it can scale up fast enough to make a difference when the next crisis hits?
That old debate, quality versus quantity, it's not a debate anymore. It's being decided right now in factories and in procurement offices.
You've been listening to Defense Report, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.